Randolph Scott was born George Randolph Scott on January 23, 1898, in Orange County, Virginia, into a large Southern family that valued discipline, education, and moral integrity. His father, a respected textile executive, and his mother, known for her refinement, instilled in him a sense of quiet confidence and responsibility from an early age. Raised primarily in Charlotte, North Carolina, Scott grew up surrounded by structure and tradition, which later shaped both his personal conduct and screen persona. He attended private schools before studying at the Georgia Institute of Technology and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, originally intending to pursue a career in engineering or business. This early grounding in order, restraint, and personal accountability would later distinguish him in Hollywood, where excess and ego often dominated. Even before fame, Scott carried himself with a calm dignity that set him apart. From war service to Hollywood opportunity, Scott's life took a decisive turn after World War I, during which he served as an artillery officer in France. The experience deepened his sense of duty and perspective, qualities that would later define his acting style. Returning to civilian life, he traveled to California and became intrigued by the rapidly growing film industry. With his tall frame, athletic build, and striking features, Scott attracted attention, though success did not come easily. He began humbly as an extra and stuntman, learning the craft from the ground up. Unlike many aspiring actors, Scott never chased attention aggressively, choosing instead to improve steadily through experience. His perseverance paid off as he transitioned into speaking roles during the late 1920s. His deep voice and composed presence translated naturally to sound films, marking the beginning of a long and disciplined career, becoming the ideal Western hero. During the 1930s and 1940s, Randolph Scott emerged as one of Hollywood's most reliable leading men, working across genres before finding his true home in westerns. Films such as Western Union and The Desperados established him as the embodiment of the honorable frontier hero. Scott's characters were defined not by bravado but by principle, restraint, and moral certainty. Unlike louder or more flamboyant stars, he conveyed strength through stillness and quiet resolve. Audiences trusted him, sensing authenticity in his performances. Scott avoided scandal and excess, earning a reputation for professionalism and dependability. As westerns grew in popularity, his image became inseparable from the genre itself. He did not merely play cowboys, he represented a moral ideal that resonated deeply with post-war American audiences seeking stability and integrity on screen. The Bud Boeticher years. The 1950s marked a creative peak for Randolph Scott through his collaboration with director Bud Boeticher. Together, they crafted a series of lean, psychologically rich westerns, including 7 Men from Now, Ride Lonesome, and Comanche Station. These films stripped the genre to its essentials, focusing on character, consequence, and moral reckoning rather than spectacle. Scott's performances during this period were among his finest, portraying men shaped by regret but guided by unwavering principles. The roles reflected maturity and introspection, elevating the Western from simple entertainment to thoughtful storytelling. Critics later recognized these films as masterpieces, though at the time they were modest productions. Scott's ability to convey emotional depth without melodrama defined this era, cementing his reputation as one of the genre's most refined and enduring figures. Leaving Hollywood with Grace Scott's final film appearance came in Ride the High Country in 1962, directed by Sam Peckinpah. Playing an aging lawman confronting a changing world, Scott delivered a performance that mirrored his own career farewell. Rather than fading quietly, he chose to retire with dignity, leaving the screen on his own terms. Financially astute, Scott invested wisely in real estate and business ventures, becoming one of the wealthiest actors of his generation. Despite his success, he lived modestly, focusing on family, faith, and personal interests. Retirement allowed him to enjoy horses, ranch life, and privacy away from Hollywood's glare. His departure felt intentional and complete, reinforcing the image he had cultivated for decades. Scott did not chase relevance. He preserved it by knowing when to step away. Marriage, society, and change. Scott's first marriage in 1936 to Marion DuPont placed him within one of America's most prominent industrial families. Marion was accomplished, independent, and deeply involved in horse breeding and philanthropy. Despite mutual respect, their lives followed different rhythms. Scott's Hollywood career demanded time in California, while Marion's passions anchored her on the East Coast. The marriage ended amicably after 3 years, producing no children. Notably, Marion retained Scott's surname for the rest of her life, reflecting enduring respect. This chapter exposed Scott to elite social circles, but also clarified his preference for a simpler, more grounded life. The experience reinforced his belief that success did not require constant display, a philosophy that guided his personal and professional choices thereafter. A lasting domestic partnership. In 1944, Scott married Patricia Stillman, beginning a partnership defined by stability and mutual respect. Patricia stepped away from acting to focus on family life, and together they adopted 2 children. Their home life stood in sharp contrast to Hollywood excess, marked by privacy and routine. Scott proved to be a devoted husband and father, gentle and attentive away from the screen. Friends often noted the warmth and calm of their household. The marriage endured for more than 4 decades, becoming one of Hollywood's quieter success stories. Living between Beverly Hills and their ranch near Santa Barbara, Scott found fulfillment beyond fame. This enduring relationship provided emotional grounding, reinforcing the values of loyalty and responsibility that had shaped him since childhood. A professional divide with John Wayne. Within Hollywood's Western circles, comparisons between Randolph Scott and John Wayne were inevitable. Both defined rugged masculinity, yet their styles and temperaments differed sharply. Scott favoured restraint and introspection, while Wayne embraced boldness and spectacle. These contrasting approaches occasionally created professional distance rather than camaraderie. Scott believed Western heroes should reflect moral complexity, whereas Wayne's performances emphasized certainty and dominance. Their differing philosophies led to mutual discomfort rather than outright conflict. Scott rarely spoke publicly about such matters, preferring discretion. When asked late in life, he acknowledged respect for Wayne's success but admitted little personal affinity. The divide was less about rivalry and more about incompatible values. Each man represented a different vision of the American West, and their separation preserved those distinct identities: reputation, principles, and perspective. Scott's discomfort extended beyond performance style to broader ideas about professionalism and authenticity. He valued humility and consistency, believing an actor's conduct mattered as much as screen presence. Wayne's outspoken personality and public bravado contrasted sharply with Scott's reserved nature. While Hollywood thrived on bold personalities, Scott remained cautious, believing dignity spoke louder than volume. He avoided confrontation, choosing distance over dispute. This approach preserved his reputation and personal peace. Colleagues often remarked that Scott left rooms quietly rather than engage in uncomfortable exchanges. His restraint reflected lifelong principles shaped by upbringing and experience. Scott did not seek to challenge others publicly. Instead, he focused on maintaining personal integrity. In an industry driven by image, his quiet consistency became his defining strength. Legacy of integrity and restraint. Randolph Scott passed away in 1987 at the age of 89, leaving behind a legacy built on dignity, discipline, and timeless storytelling. He was laid to rest in North Carolina beside his wife Patricia, closing a life defined by balance rather than excess. His personal papers, preserved at UCLA, reveal a man thoughtful and deliberate in both career and private life. Scott's influence on the Western genre remains profound, shaping portrayals of heroism rooted in conscience rather than bravado. While others chased spectacle, he offered reflection. His story endures not through scandal or rivalry, but through consistency and grace. In a career spanning decades, Randolph Scott proved that quiet strength can leave the loudest echo in cinematic history